You gonna try
Good
the live one?
afternoon. Good afternoon and welcome to Monday Noontide. We're not able to go live on Facebook due to some technical challenges that are not loading on Facebook, so we are going to post a recorded copy of this on all our social media. I'm so excited today. I have Jerry Summers here with me. He's going to be sharing a little bit about the cruise industry and travel. So if you're like me and you can't wait to get back out there, he's going to share all the tips and tricks of the trade and the news that we just don't know. So I am Heidi with Lifeguarding Legacies, your legacy lifeguard. I help people with wills, trusts, and estates, which means I take the things you've worked for all your life and make sure they go to the people you love and the causes you care most about. So Jerry and I met a while back at networking and we've stayed in touch, and I'm very excited for him to share what he has. So Jerry, I'm going to turn it over to you now. So if you want to take over the share screen and let people know all about the cruise industry.
All right. Well, let me. This is a presentation that I put together about Tracy and I, and how we became interested in the cruise industry, but also in travel in general. So, how did a poor boy from Iowa devote his life to travel? Tracy and I both met at Iowa State, and we had some very small worlds. I call my polygon of influence. You can see when I grew up in Iowa, I didn't really go outside of Iowa. But after going to Iowa State University and on a Navy ROTC scholarship, I was able to see a little bit more very shortly. After my sophomore year in college, I did this thing called Courtrai Mid, and we spent a week with the Surface Navy. In this case, it was down in San Diego. The Submarine Navy also in San Diego, and which allowed me to then go into Mexico, which a whole another country I'd never been to before. And then a week with the Marine Corps, and then a week with the aviation community up in Whidbey Island, Washington. And then we took a road trip up to Canada. So 2 countries in a very short span. And you can see my polygon of influence got a lot bigger really fast. So after graduating with a chemical engineering degree from Iowa State, I joined the nuclear Navy, in the submarine nuclear Navy. So part of that was to go to Orlando, Florida. So me, never really driven outside of the state before. I drive down to Florida by myself and then spend 6 months in Orlando. And then my wife, Tracy, at that time moved to Tempe here in Arizona. And after I graduated from power school, I went to go see her. And then my next duty station was in Idaho Falls to go to the nuclear power prototype. So I chose these because I wanted to get as much distance as possible to see as much of the United States as possible. And so after Idaho for 6 months, then we drove across the country through Iowa, got married in Iowa along the way, and then went to the next duty station, which was submarine school in Groton, Connecticut. And then after that, I drove back across the United States to my first submarine, which was the USS Pogey, and it was stationed in Point Loma, California. So this was all in about a year and a half, and you can see that I saw a whole lot more of the country than the first 18 years of my life.
Fantastic. Well, and thank you for your service. We appreciate that the military is where you decided to start out. That's
it was a great experience as a engineer, coming right out of college, that getting into a nuclear submarine and understanding systems and having all of these amazing coworkers to help improve your knowledge of systems, engineering systems, as well as personal, all the management requirement for a young officer coming onto a submarine. But some of the greatest things that we've done when I was on there is that we did the SISEX in 1996, where we actually took a ship up into the Arctic and spent countless days under the ice, surfacing 19 times through the ice. And you can see we even found Santa Claus while we were there. It was an incredible experience. And if you're looking for that that type of environment where you're, you know, the expedition type of cruising, there are ships that will take you up to the Arctic pole, as well as along this Canada, the Northwest Passage. I mean, there are some amazing cruises out there. Another one that I did was Western Pacific, and I saw a whole bunch of other countries that I have never been to before. I went to Guam, went to Japan, Korea, Hong Kong, Australia. And so, I mean, just, you know, from a young kid out of Iowa to go and see these amazing places and then interact with the submarine crews in Australia and in South Korea and in Tokyo or in Japan, it was just, it was really eye-opening. And I think that's the best thing about travel, is that you don't find what divides us, but what is similar to each other.
We need that right now, absolutely.
Yes, we do. You know, one of the things that the Navy does is that they like to they like to celebrate the things that you do, the places that you go, and you know, we have the submarine birthday ball and every April 11th, and we get together and we just share stories, and then but you can see that all these different certificates for one, going around the world, crossing the international date line, crossing the equator, but not just crossing the equator, but crossing the equator at the international date line. And so we get these great fun things. And so I'm kind of taking that and saying, what other orders are out there that I can do as a civilian? And I have completed several of them, like going through the Panama Canal, going through the Straits of Gibraltar, and in the Caribbean, the Spanish Main, and going around South America. But I'm looking to do some more. There's several more that I've got on my bucket list that I am already preparing to do. And so it's quite fun. You know, you can that with the planet being 70% water, in almost all the countries have border an ocean or a sea. You know, a cruise ship can take you to places that a lot faster and in a lot more luxury than you would get, especially from being on a submarine. Not a whole lot of luxury on a submarine. So after the Navy, I did a whole bunch of things. Probably the hardest job that I had was this second to last one, which was a house spouse. That was by far one of the hardest ones, you know, but I did it because it was an opportunity for me to be, you know, support Tracy in her engineering management position and actually travel with her when she was on there. So we did a lot of workcations. And then just recently, last year, we started our own travel agency. And I think this is the one where we're actually taking, you know, we're both engineers and we just enjoy travel. And so now we're taking something that we're passionate about and going to be able to take that into a retirement and still enjoy traveling and helping other people to travel.
That is the best.
I know, isn't it? You find something you're passionate about, and it actually doesn't suck to come to work. I mean, you can actually have fun when you're doing it.
Never work a day in your life, right?
So one of the funnest things I think that we have done, somehow miraculously without planning, we went to all Disney parks in a year. And it just worked as we did something. We went to the inaugural Disneyland Paris half marathon, and then it just kind of spiraled. My job took me to Florida, so we did Walt Disney World. My job took me to California, so we did Disneyland. And then Tracy's job took her to Japan and China, and so we did Tokyo, Shanghai, and Hong Kong. But we also somehow ended up, because my job took me to Hawaii, so we spent some time at Aulani's Disney resort there in Oahu. And then when we were in Florida, we went to Vero Beach, which is there's on the coast of Florida. So it was just a great time. And then, so when we started this job, it's like we've been to 50 plus countries. We've done 10 plus cruises. And in this whole year, I became a member of the American Society of Travel Advisors and a member of the Cruise Line Industry Association, that's the CLIA. And I've already completed the coursework. I'm just waiting for the time element for the certified travel associate with the Travel Institute, and been through our own Travel Leaders Network has this thing called Apex, which allows me to then help people who have an American Express Gold or Platinum personal or business card be able to use their points to help them supplement their travel. And so that's a great tool for all people that they buy everything online now, and so they want to be able to travel so they can use their points. But then I've gone through a whole lot of supplier training, and I didn't realize how many cruise lines and how many resorts and hotel chains and destinations and their own tourism boards have training elements. And so you can see I've done a whole bunch of training on a whole bunch of different lines, from contemporary cruise lines like Carnival and Royal Caribbean to all the way to niche ones like Disney and Hurtigruten in the north in Norway, and then all these river cruise lines that were
Well, and I saw you added Virgin, and that's the brand new one. It hasn't even come out yet, right? They
That's
haven't
right.
even
It was
started?
supposed to have been this summer, and actually in April, May timeframe, but they had to delay it. And so right now it's looking at October. And that, a unique thing about Virgin Voyages is that they're trying to turn the whole cruising industry on its head. And
Oh yeah, no children, and
no
it's really
children.
designed for the younger adults or
That's
the
right.
younger at heart adults.
18 plus. And so
Yes.
it is truly, good for adulting. And I think parents need some adulting time right now. So when they open up again, hopefully in October, we'll be able to get a whole bunch of people onto it because it's a beautiful looking ship.
Of course, Princess is the one that's near and dear to my heart because that's where my son was
Right.
as a dancer. But I've certainly done several of the different. I've done Carnival and Royal Caribbean and Disney, and I'm right there with you. I love this industry. But go on. I don't mean to interrupt. It's great
No,
stuff.
I love, I tell people that I love going to sea on a cruise ship because I don't have to work. I mean, I can have all the great food, even though the food on a submarine is pretty good, but there's no drinks. There's no cocktail hour. And so,
And there's nobody to put that napkin in your lap. There's just something about sitting down and having someone else do the work, even that.
well, as an officer, we have stewards on, we
Okay.
actually have, but it's not quite the same. And they don't make these little shapes for you with your cocktail or your napkin. So the American Society of Travel Advisors has a whole different, I didn't realize there was so many different ways to travel. My wife and I, it's just been us two as kind of independent travelers, but there are so many out there. And, a growing one here in the world is our special needs and accessible traveler. And so I did become a certified accessibility travel advocate for those that have difficulty with mobility issues, or they need to have some sort of like a oxygen, or they need to have, just something that, they can't see very well, they can't hear very well. And so just having all of the different options available to them. And this is LGBTQ plus month. And so you can see that that's a whole nother option. And there's websites out there and tourism boards that is specifically for that community, and, make sure that they have hotels and tour companies that cater to their needs. And, this is supposed to be a great year for Oberammergau as a religious and faith and spiritual in Germany, but that's being postponed until next year. So you can just see there's a whole bunch of them out there. And so, knowing that your particular style, we can then cater to what your needs are. And that's what makes us a travel consultant, not just a ticket taker. We're here to help you understand all your options. Mm-hmm. So what are your options for this summer?
Yes, I think we all want to know, where can we still go?
It is most likely going to be more of a drive market this year. People are going to most likely go to the national parks, go to some parks in Universal Studios in Orlando is already opened. Walt Disney World will be opening here in July, is a phased opening. And same with Disneyland in California, it will have a phased opening in July currently. And people, especially here in the desert, we may want to see sand but have the ocean with it. And so there will be plenty of beaches that are available. A lot of the Caribbean islands are already reopening and having airlift to them. I was just on a webinar before this with the U.S. Virgin Islands. It is already reopened, but they have safety protocols, health and safety protocols in place. But they are taking you. You're not having to do quarantine. And the nice thing about the U.S. Virgin Islands is it's part of the United States. That's what's got that first part in there, and so you don't need a passport. Right now, the State Department is not issuing any passports. So if yours was out of date and you were waiting for it, it's been put on hold until all those essential emergency type of passports were taken care of first. So that's a beautiful place to go. And same with Antigua, Barbuda. They have 365 beaches on Antigua. And they even have an extra beach that they just bring out for a leap year, which this is. And so
I was just going to say, that's one every day. How great is that?
Exactly. You can hop the beaches all day. And so they're reopening and have airlift going every day. So, things are reopening. They weren't impacted as much as we were, because it's a lot easier to isolate an island than it is to isolate the United States, which is the second, third largest, depending on how you look at it, and then this third largest population. And so you have a lot of people, and I think that's what's people look at our numbers and they think, oh my gosh, you guys are off the charts, but we are 10 times greater than most of the populations of all of these other European countries. And we have a large country, and people are moving about. We haven't really stopped people from moving about. But one of the things, national parks is another one that's they're starting to do a reopening as well. And if you've never been on a train in the United States, and yes, we still have trains in the United States, Amtrak goes right into the parks, and they have, if you're doing an Amtrak vacation, you can stay. They have blocks of space at the park lodges. So that's another great one.
You've seen that. Have you ever seen or taken the one that goes all the way from Seattle down to LA, right along that coastal track?
I've been by it. I have not been on it, but it's,
It's on my bucket list.
Yeah, in Amtrak, they have some health and safety protocols that they're doing, but it just makes it easier for people to, there's more space on board, and you can get your own room if you want that, and then they will bring food to your room so there are some nice things about the Amtrak. Alaska is reopening. They are taking off of their 14-day quarantine, and there will be the Alaska Railway is going to be reopening, and so you can go from Anchorage up to Fairbanks and stop in Denali, the highest peak in the United States. So if you don't count Mauna Loa in Hawaii, and that's the biggest mountain in the world if you count from where the base of the mountain is. And there's some small ships. I was just telling you before we got on that CLIA has just announced that they're doing a stay on cruise ships leaving from U.S. ports until September 15th, until the CDC will get behind the fact that cruise ships are some of the cleanest, well-managed, well-staffed, very low cases of sickness. I mean, when we were having people were talking about the norovirus and how it spread. The norovirus spreads less on a cruise ship than it does in a hospital. And so I think we need to, stop looking at the mainstream media for people who have not been at sea on a cruise ship and saying what it's really like. Yes, there are cases there are incidents that happen, but they happen at resorts as well. They happen, at your hotel. They happen everywhere. They happen in your own house, and you don't get upset at yourself for the fact that you get sick. I mean, come on. And it's so clean, and there's so much great entertainment. I can't wait to get back to sea. But small ships in the US, they will be opening up again. American Cruise Lines, which does some river and littoral waters or coastal waters in the United States, they were supposed to open up this week on the Pacific Northwest, but it got delayed because of the uptick in cases in Washington State and in Oregon. American Queen Steamboat Company, they're looking to open up as well on the Pacific Northwest and on the Mississippi here coming up in July. Uncruise will be hopefully going, since almost all of the cruise ships have been canceled for Alaska because most of them go out of Canada, and Canada has prevented all cruise ships from porting there until October of this year.
Right. Anytime you take an international cruise, well, anytime you take a cruise out of a U.S. port, they're required to have an international stopover. So like if you go to Hawaii, you have to stop in Mexico on your way back. I learned that.
Yeah, unless you were on a U.S. flagged ship.
Correct.
And so American Cruise Lines, American Queen Steamboat Company, and Uncruise are all
correct.
U.S. flagged, U.S. crewed ships. And so
Right.
these are more considered a luxury type of cruise.
But the ones that would have normally gone to Alaska would have fallen into that, which is why they stop over in Canada to get that international stopover. And if Canada's closing their ports, it kind of hurts the U.S. Alaska mainland tourism.
That's right. But Uncruise, they actually are U.S. flagged, and they go out of Juneau, and so they don't go through Canadian waters. And so they will hopefully start up again in July. That's what they had said in a webinar that I was on. Paul Gauguin is a small cruise ship that's in Tahiti and in the French Polynesia, and currently they're saying that they're going to have cruising start up again in July. So if you want to go to Tahiti, there's a nice one. And then there's always yacht rentals and villa rentals. And so, I was just on US Virgin Islands webinar, and they had a yacht rental company that's like an all-inclusive yacht rental for 2 to 12 people. You can have your own chef, your own captain, and they will make you food 3 times a day plus hors d'oeuvres and snacks and drinks. And so if you're interested, they have that just like an all-inclusive resort, but it's on a yacht.
Nice.
And then villa rentals. I mean, if you're looking to do some family time right now and, find a place that's a little bit cooler, and you're looking for something that is going to have a lot more space for you in a cooler environment like Lake Tahoe or, somewhere in the mountains, we can do that as well. And then there is some talk that Trump has put out, and that from the U.S. Travel Association, about a potential for an Explore America tax credit, where you would be able to do travel in the United States, putting some money back into the local economy, and then get a tax credit. There's all of the works are not done, but they're working on it. They're trying to find a way to stimulate the travel market again when it is safe to operate. So
excellent.
Some important travel tips that I have, and the reason why it might be good to use a travel advisor is that every city and every state and every territory and every island has their own health and safety protocols. And so knowing what those are, every airline, hotel, tour operator, they're going to have their own. And so knowing what to do, what to take with you is going to be important. Understanding your cancellation policies. A lot of these lines are looking at, a more gentle cancellation policy than they've had in the past, where you can cancel some up to 48 hours in it before you travel if you don't feel safe or something happens. So because of that uncertainty, I definitely recommend travel protection. And it's not necessarily that if you're going to get canceled, because that will be handled by the supplier, like a cruise line. But if something happens where you get sick, you can have some medical coverage where you're sick, and then that may interrupt your travel, and so you may have to stay some time in the hospital. and then you have to get back to the United States because now your plans have changed. And so the repatriation back to the United States. All those things can be quite costly. So having some peace of mind when you're traveling with some travel protection is important. And we highly recommend that you pay with a credit card because the credit card can act as an advocate for you if something happens with the supplier. And that's another reason why you recommend tour operators, and it really should be not travel, but tour operators are part of the USTOA, which is that requires each of the tour operators that are members to have $1 million bond just in case they do go under, that the people that have money on that with that tour supplier will actually be protected. So why work with a travel advisor? I mean, I think the key one is if you've bought anything with an online travel agent such as Expedia and you can't get a hold of anybody, I think that's the important thing, is having somebody that you can actually call and have a discussion with. What are my options? And I think that's key. And we're all small business owners. I mean, we are there to help you have the best experience possible when you are on your trip. And that's why we call it a dream. We're part of the Dream Vacations network of travel advisors. Everybody has what they want to do, but the travel advisor helps you understand your needs and wants, but also tries to put it within your budget. And so I think that's what makes us more of a consultant, is that we're not just selling you this is what's hot today. We're selling you what you want and need to have a great vacation. And we have all the resources. You can see we may not be complete experts, but we have a whole network of people that can help us help you. And we're doing our own training every day. And we can help you be the advocate with all of these suppliers that you may not get with an online travel agent or booking it by yourself. So if you're working with a travel agent, you know that you've typed them all into Expedia or whatever. And so you know that you got to expect questions. And so, it's building that rapport. I mean, I think that's the first thing about networking, is that you learn that you work with people that you trust. And so before you start giving your personal information, you have to build that rapport. And I think that's key for any engineering consultant like I used to be, a legal professional like you are, a tax advisor, all of those things. The reason why we have advisor in our name is because we're not just taking tickets. We're actually helping you to have the best experience. So one of the things that I always do when I go on a trip, and hopefully you have something, but books is my passion. And we went to Barcelona after reading Don Brown's Origin. We went to Paris and London after we read the Da Vinci Code. We went to Rome after we read Angels and Demons. And when we come back from a trip, we always when we stop into a new city or a new country, we like to find a local author set in the city that we went to. And this is our bookshelf of travel. And we always bring back something. And I think that's cool. Hopefully you have something that drives your passion for travel, and it gives you some ideas of where you want to go. And books just take me there. Hopefully you have something. I got some great, quotes that are personal to me, but my wife's favorite is Let It Go. I mean, you got to learn to just let go and enjoy the moment. I mean, I think my favorite trip is when my wife is a huge planner. She likes to plan every hotel, every event. And she got, for a birthday, she got a trip on a Eurail pass and one hotel on the first night of an airplane into a city. And then after that, we just took the train all over Europe. And so for her, that was very difficult. For me, it
That
was
would be
like,
very difficult for me.
yeah. So I mean, everybody has their own thing, but you got to let it go sometimes. You got to just get rid of all of that stuff that you're carrying and just, not be it overanalyzed. So get rid of the paralysis by analysis. So our last trip was on an Azamara cruise for our 25th wedding anniversary down to South America, and we spent a couple of days in Iguazu Falls, one of the 7 natural wonders of the world. And as soon as we retire, I'm hoping that we can do a around the world cruise. I'm hoping for the longer of those, but whatever works. And we want to visit all the continents. I mean, I think that's mine. So where do you want to go? Where do you want to go? And where can I help you to go to? So here's some information. If whoever, all of our guests out there in YouTube world, give us a call. Or an email, or go to our website and check out what we have to offer.
Jerry, that was awesome. Thank you so much. And I'm especially grateful that you listed a couple immediate choices, because for some of us, I know for me personally, we usually take 2 trips a year, usually one in the spring and one in the fall.
Right.
And going this long, because we've been shut down all spring, right?
Yeah.
And now it looks mostly shut down through the summer. It's been a very long time coming. And so knowing that there are some options, it's almost like just knowing that there's a choice out there just feels good just to know.
Yeah, they've actually done studies that show that if people who have actually planned a trip actually reduces their stress level, because they can think about, I'm going here. It may be a couple of months, but I have something planned.
I've lived by that. When I first came back off my honeymoon, when we were early married, of course, we didn't have any money at all. We were working for nothing, single-digit dollars, right?
Right.
And I came back off the honeymoon. We had nothing on the calendar. And there was kind of this post-wedding blues thing.
Right.
And we learned very quickly, if you have something you're looking forward to in your marriage, it continues to thrive, because you're always looking forward, you're always looking to. Not that you're not living in the present, you are, but there's something about having that date on the calendar and knowing it's coming, that just you can get to your next vacation. You can get to anything.
That is so true. And Tracy actually is starting to ask the question of where we're going while we're still on that trip. So we're like, okay, now where this one is so good, let's start thinking about where we want to go next. And
I think that's such a great thing to do on vacation, is to plan the next one, because you're already in that moment where you're looking for that next adventure and that next excitement. I'm right with her on that. Fantastic.
And most of the cruise lines have a book your next trip while on board, and they will help you with your next destination. And they're just if we help you get onto that cruise line, that cruise line is there to help you then help us find what you're more now passionate about. Because you may have already been on and talked to a whole bunch of people that have been on a particular cruise in the Mediterranean, and you think, I would like to do that. And you can just now do it right there on board, and then we are then connected to you directly after that. So the suppliers we want to work together, because that means that you're going to get the best experience you can possibly get. Yeah.
And Mediterranean, boy, you nailed that one. That is probably the top thing on my list for my next cruise. That would be the one that's my dream cruise right there. So you nailed that one. Very exciting.
Yes.
All right. Well, Jerry, I appreciate this. This will be posted on LinkedIn. This will be on my YouTube channel. I will put a link to it on Facebook. It won't let me list it directly on LinkedIn, so it'll be in the comment section with a little picture. So I'll get that from you because it's too long to go directly on LinkedIn, but it will be posted for people to see. Folks, tune in every Monday to Monday Noontide. As long as it's allowed to be Facebook Live, it will be. Otherwise, it'll just be available shortly thereafter for social media. I'm Heidi Thompson, your Lifeguard Legacy, and I look forward to hearing where you travel, and wherever your travels take you, make sure that you've got those things checked off the box for the estates that you need to plan, and I'm the person to help you with that. Happy to provide any advice you need in that world, and I know Jerry would be happy if you reached out about your travel needs. Thanks, Jerry, and I will be talking to you soon.
Thank you. Take care.